Hey everyone, it's Gina, and today we're going to be talking about how to apply eye makeup to hooded eyes. So having hooded eyes is pretty much when the skin on your brow bone kind of sits over top of your lid a little bit to where it kind of just goes back into your head to where it just sits over top instead of seeing a lot of your lid. It might not seem like I have hooded eyes, and I don't know that I've ever directly talked about it in my makeup tutorials, but a lot of times when my eyes are puffy, whether if I have allergies or in the morning, a lot of times they can droop even further. But I just noticed that a lot of times my shadow pretty much disappears, or if I apply like shadow to my crease, you can't really see it when my eyes are open. You can only see it when my eyes are looking down or closed. So hopefully this will help you out. I'm gonna take you through step by step, really break it down on the different techniques, share tons of tips on how to really open up your eyes, make them look more elongated with a cat eye effect, raise your brows, everything like that. So let's go ahead and get started. So I first wanted to start out by giving a little tip for the brows to actually lift your eye. I like to kind of place my pencil right here and just dab a little bit of brow product right on the arch of my brow. I don't have much hair right there, but I actually fill that in to give the appearance of a pointier arch on my brows. So if you just kind of angle your brows up a little bit more, it gives you a lot of lift. And then you can also take concealer like on a brush like this, and you can clean up right underneath with a little bit of concealer to really lift the brows. And anything you can do to lift the eyes, even with your brows, is gonna make a big difference for hooded eyes. Okay, the first thing that I'm gonna do is apply a primer. You can use any primer if you wanna use a drugstore one. I recommend the e.l.f. one, it's really good. This one's from Smashbox though. This is the 24-hour photo finish eyeshadow primer, and I'm just gonna dab this on my eyes. I'm sure you know that primer just makes your shadows stay on longer. It's essential. So for eyeshadow, I decided to use this palette from Maybelline. This is called the Nudes. I wanted to use something from the drugstore. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take a pencil brush. This is from Sigma. I'm gonna be using this to create a crease. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is create a guide for your crease. Hooded eyes, naturally, the crease is pretty hidden. Like you can't really see much of my crease when my eye is open until I close it. And the actual crease of my eye is like, you know, right here. But when my eyes open and I'm looking straight ahead, you can't really see it. So what we're gonna do is create a line for a guide that's gonna go right above here to where I'm kind of raising up where the natural crease is a little bit and creating a fake crease. So using this palette, I'm gonna go with this shade right here, which is a darker skin tone color. It's a matte color. I like using matte colors in the crease because shimmer just kind of throws off what you're trying to do. If you're trying to manipulate your eye shape, then you're pretty much like contouring almost like you would for your face, so you would want to go with a matte shadow for that. So if you look straight ahead, you can place your brush right here, and you can go just above where you see your eye fold. And I'm just using a light hand. I'm holding the brush about right here. If you hold it too far in, then you might get too harsh of a line. And you can kind of take it this way a little bit. It looks a little bit harsh right now, but we're gonna blend it out with some other shadows in a second. You can kind of fade it down into your inner corner right here a little bit, like I'm taking it down into my real crease, but you don't want to go too far in. You're just kind of leaving it right over that crease line there. So you can even take it a little bit higher if you want, depending on how defined you want your crease to be. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with a fluffier brush. This is a small tapered blending brush from Sigma, and this is a similar shape to like their other blending brushes, but it's actually smaller and it kind of goes up into a point, which is great if you have small eyes like me because it's not gonna over blend. You don't wanna use a brush that's too large and it's just gonna throw the shadow all over the place. You want something that is very like dense, but it's still gonna blend out well. So I'm just gonna take that brush. It doesn't really have any shadow on it. I'm just going to blend out that shadow. Okay, now I'm gonna come back to the crease in just a minute, but for now I'm gonna go ahead and do the lid color. So I'm gonna be taking a flat eye shading brush like this. It's just great for packing on color. And I'm gonna go in with this shimmery light color right here. It's just a really light champagne beige color. This one has some shimmer to it, so you definitely wanna tap off the excess. And this I'm just going to gently pat right onto my lid. Since the lid area is what oftentimes gets covered up with hooded eyes, you really want to use something very light and bright. That way it brings it forward. You know, any lighter shadows are gonna help bring the attention forward. Anything dark is going to kind of give the illusion of sunken back in. So that's why we're going with the very light shadows right on the lid. You can use any kind of shadow that you want. And then I'm also gonna take it in on the inner corner. This is really important to add that brightness to the inner corner. It makes such a difference. Even if you're not gonna wear any eyeshadow, just adding a little bit of this brightness to the inner corner makes such a difference. And I also take this down into the tear duct area, like right on the lower lash line. Then I'm also going to dab just a tiny little bit right in my arch right here. And that's just gonna give a little bit of shimmer and a highlight right there to just lift the brow. So now I'm gonna take a little bit of a bigger blending brush from Sigma, and I'm just gonna use this brow bone color right here. It's just a matte skin tone color. You can skip this step, but I do recommend it to kind of just color in the main brow bone area, like the bulk of it, and it just helps blend everything out. So now I'm gonna take this darker matte brown right here, and I'm just gonna use that small tapered blending brush, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna create a really subtle V. You can even use that pencil brush. That would probably give you more control if you're afraid to go too dark. You want a little bit more control. I'm holding this one a little bit closer, again, for more control. That way I can make sure that I'm keeping it just in the outer V. And I think I am gonna switch to that other one because when I start to take it down, I don't want it to get too far down. And I'm just going to connect that shadow right onto the outer portion of this outer V, down onto my lid. And I'm creating this outer V cat eye shape. So when you have hooded eyes, it's really important to kind of elongate your eyes this way and keep the shadow on the outer portion of your eye. And cat eye shapes look really nice because they just kind of elongate the eye this way and bring it up and out. So that's what I'm doing here by creating this really subtle outer V. And then I'm connecting it up to that crease color. And you can do this with that lighter brown too. You don't have to use this darker one. Now I'm gonna take that clean, fluffy blending brush that had nothing on it, and I'm just going to blend back over this. If you find that you use too much shadow and you wanna lighten it up, if it's too dark for you, you can always dip this into that matte brow bone shade and just go right over it, and that just will really tone down the shadow because it's just layering on something lighter. Just gonna blend, just blend and blend. Obviously don't over blend. You don't want the shadow to start to fall down or anything. You just wanna keep everything up top, but I do like to make sure everything's good and blended on my eyelid. So now is when I kind of like to just go back and forth between those shades I was using in the different brushes, usually with whatever is left on them, and just kind of touch up and get that shape that I really want. So again, we're focusing this right above the crease. We're not going down into my crease. I'm keeping the dark shadow off my lid because that's where we want it to stay very highlighted and bright. And I'm just focusing on creating that shadow right above my natural crease. So in terms of coming inward, I usually don't ever bring it too far in unless I'm going for like a really dark smoky eye. And especially with hooded eyes, I don't recommend taking the shadow too far in. I just kind of use whatever is left over on my brush, and I just gently go into here like this, but not too much at all into this area. You really wanna keep this part light at the same time, because a lot of times when my eyes get puffy too, even this kind of droops down over it. So again, you can keep that crease color a little bit higher, but you wanna keep mostly the lighter shades on here. So I'm actually gonna go back in and touch up with that shimmery champagne because I want this to be pretty bright on the lid, and sometimes that can get taken away a little bit as you're working with those dark shadows. And again, make sure that that area is staying pretty light. So that's pretty much it for the shadow on the upper lash line. If you wanna drag it down onto the lower lash line, which I recommend doing because it kind of can look top heavy a little bit and unbalanced, at least on my eyes, I'm gonna take this flat to finer brush from Sigma, which is a really like dense, flat shaped brush. You can use this on cream liner, or you can use it for shadow to create your own liner, which is what I like to do. I'm gonna dip it in that matte dark brown shade, just tap off any excess, and I'm gonna place it just right here and dab it on my lower lash line, kind of creating a shadow here. And you could use this as your liner if you're not comfortable with using a gel liner, which is what I'm gonna use in a minute, or if you don't wanna mess with pencil, or you can even kind of take this, smudge it on the tip of your pencil and go in right with it. That's what I do a lot of times. So with hooded eyes, you do not want to take it too far inward. So I like to stop about right here, and I just kind of gently blend it up into the lash line. I don't have like a harsh stop right there. You can't really tell I stopped there, but it's just that little subtle bit of shadow right in the center, and then the darker portion is out here. So it kind of fades from dark to light, and it goes right into that shimmer that we added right there. So now for eyeliner, you can definitely use a pencil liner. I've done some tutorials using pencil. That's definitely the easiest route. I would avoid liquid liner, but I think that cream or gel is the easiest to work with, and you can really get a nice wing. And I think with winged eyeliner, you can really manipulate the shape of your eyes and really make it look completely different with wearing a winged eyeliner. So that's why I chose the gel, because it's kind of hard to do like a defined wing with a pencil. It can totally be done, and I've definitely done tutorials like that, so I'll link it for you. But the liner I'm gonna be using is from Tarte. I know this is higher end, but it's definitely my favorite, and I find it to be just the best out there. And this little jar will last such a long time. I've had this for over a year and it still has a lot left. This is the clay pot. This is the Amazonian clay. It lasts a long time, and I have it in black. Then this brush I'm gonna use is from Sigma. This is the winged eyeliner brush, the EO6, and it's super tiny. It has an angled shape to it. It's really dense, which is great for applying a gel liner. So you just wanna keep the color extremely close to your lash line, and I would keep the line very thin. I like how with this gel liner, I can just kind of dab it on like this, and I don't have to drag a really dramatic, defined line. I can just kind of dab it on and it looks natural and soft. So I never usually go all the way in on the inner corner, which is again the same as what I was saying on the lower lash line. But you do want to kind of just fade it down into the lash line a little bit. So I'm just really using what's left over on that brush. And again, I'm not drawing a line over top my lash line, like creating like a visible line on top. I'm just kind of smushing it into my lashes to where it fades down into my lash line. Okay, so now that we've got just some general liner on top, like you can leave it like this, but I recommend creating a wing to really give your eye that elongated, lifted shape. So I'm gonna get a little bit more on my brush, and when I put it on my brush, I kind of wipe it back and forth. And that's just to make sure I get a clean straight line. So you want to angle your eyeliner up towards the end of your brow, but you don't want anything to droop too far down. You don't want your wing to point downwards. You want it to point up and out because that's the shape that we're going for. So I'm gonna hold my brush like this to where the point of the brush is pointed down and then the angle goes up. I'm gonna place it right here at the outer corner and just start to flick it up towards my brow. And you don't want to pull on your eyes, for one, that makes the wrinkles worse. And you don't want to tug too much because that's going to change the shape of your wing, because if you're tugging on it and you're applying the winged liner with it, stretched out, when you release it back, it's going to look different. Another good thing to do is, again, like we did with that crease shadow, is to look into your mirror and see which way that it's going to look. All right, so that's kind of pointed upward. So now I'm gonna turn the brush around in this direction so it's facing this way. And I'm gonna start right there, and I'm just going to kind of fill in that corner a little bit. So I'm gonna connect this wing down here to the lash line. And I need a little bit more on my brush. If it's tugging too much, then you don't have enough or your liner's too dry. So I'm just gonna connect it down like this. And I got a little bit too thick right there, but we're just gonna fill it in and go with it. So there's so many different shapes of a wing that you can do, but this shape just works best with my eyes. Okay, now I'm actually gonna take mine onto my lower lash line. You don't have to do this, but again, it just helps to connect everything so there's not like a hard stop right there. So I face my brush actually inward like this, and I just kind of place it right there in the corner and just start to dab it inward. Again, we're not drawing a line or anything, we're just kind of smudging and adding a little bit of color to that. And I'm just keeping it within my lashes and just smudging it. And I'm gonna stop right here and not take it too far in. So now I'm gonna show you how you can really clean up this edge. It's not too bad on this side, but on this side, I tend to have more of like a shadow right here from where the hood kind of sits over. I always end up with like this little shadow right here, or it looks like my eyeshadow is falling down too much, or my liner. So the way that I like to clean that up is always with concealer, and I love this brush from Sigma. It's just a flat concealer brush. This is a synthetic brush. You can use it with cream products. I just use whatever concealer that I'm using at the moment. This one's from Makeup Revolution, which is a drugstore brand available at Ulta. This is their Conceal and Define Full Coverage Conceal and Contour. So I'm just gonna use this to gently clean up right underneath. So I'm gonna place it right here and draw a line straight up to my eyebrow. So that's kind of our cutoff mark right here. And I'm also gonna take it down this way and then just blend it out. So that's a great way to clean up your liner underneath too. So now I'm gonna curl my eyelashes, which I don't do on a daily basis, but it really does help to open up your eyes, so I would recommend doing it. I'm just going to place the lash curler right at the base and give it a little pinch. So now for mascara, I'm gonna use my favorite one from Maybelline. This is the Lash Sensational. Quick tip, if you have trouble with the mascara getting all over your lids, if your eyes are hooded, which mine always gets all over it, look down into your mirror. Like I have my makeup mirror tilted up like this, like it's almost flat, or you can use a magnifying mirror. Put it underneath your chin and then look down into the mirror. So that way you are looking right underneath and you're not looking straight into your mirror like this. Like that's just like a recipe for disaster. You want to be looking down instead of up. And that way your lashes can dry and not touch your lid at the same time. So that's it for this tutorial for hooded eyes. I hope you found it very helpful. Also, all the products that I used in this video are going to be linked on the blog post that goes with this video. That will be the first link down below in the description box. That's got all the brushes and the products that I used linked to where you can get them. I always try to find them the most affordable that I can for you, and I link them for you. That way you can kind of use that as a shopping list. And if you subscribe to my blog by email, that post will get sent right to your inbox. So it's super helpful so you can have it on hand. I'm also going to have like a step-by-step graphic on that blog post if you want to save that to your Pinterest board. That would be helpful so you can refer back to it. My channel is focused on really achievable, easy, everyday looks, and I really try to break it down that way anyone can do it at any skill level. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you're new to my channel, I hope you subscribe and stick around. Like I said, I do a lot of everyday looks, really thorough reviews, honest reviews, and I also do curly hair videos. So I would love to have you if you want to hit subscribe. I usually post videos on Sunday, so I hope to see everyone back then. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye everyone.